Hello, my name is Samuel Morris and this is Elementary English. Today we're going to go over identifying informational text and explaining relevant text-to-text connections using words to compare and contrast. So I know that sounds like a lot, but in reality it's something that you're probably comfortable with already. Identifying informational text is quite simple. It is just understanding if a text is giving you information or if it's giving you something else. A good way to figure this out is to ask yourself, is the author trying to teach me something? Do I feel like I'm being taught something? If so, it's probably an informational text. Now, it's important once you understand and read informational text to be able to compare and contrast two different informational texts. This is especially important in our current day and age with so much information. You can take the same topic and read two different texts on the topic, be them online or in an encyclopedia, or maybe in a textbook or something you heard on social media from a credible source, and compare and contrast those to formulate what you think. So these compare and contrast words are quite vast, but today we're just going to focus on 5. Those 5 words or phrases to compare or contrast are just like, similarly, both, however, and though. So these words are going to help us compare two that are similar or contrast two that are different. And as today is St. Patrick's Day, we're going to read another article like we did last week on the same topic, on St. Patrick's Day. Today's article I found from the Ancient History Encyclopedia that was then drafted by News ELA for our reading. And this is an informational text from a very reliable source. Once we read this article, we're going to draw on our knowledge of what we remember from the article last week and practice comparing and contrasting using those 5 words. So let's read together. Who really was St. Patrick? St. Patrick was born about 1,600 years ago. He is the patron saint of Ireland. He spread the Christian religion in Ireland. Patrick also helped make Irish laws better. His death date is celebrated on March 17. Early life and captivity. We know very little of Patrick's early life. Experts believe he was probably born in England, Scotland, Wales, or France. When he was 16 years old, Patrick was captured by pirates. He was sold into slavery in Ireland for 6 years. Thomas Cahill has written a book about Patrick. Cahill writes that slaves were treated horribly. Patrick did not believe in God at first, however, he began praying because he had nobody else to turn to. Patrick's belief in God kept growing. One night, he dreamed of a voice. The voice said that a ship was ready to take him home. Patrick ran away and boarded a ship to Britain. Patrick's ordination and return. Patrick and the sailors almost starved when they landed in Britain. The sailors doubted Patrick's faith in God. However, when Patrick told them to pray, a herd of pigs appeared. The pigs saved them from starving. Later, Patrick dreamed of a man he knew in Ireland. He knew he had to return to Ireland. Patrick went to a region called Gaul. He studied to become a Catholic leader called a bishop. However, Patrick decided to return to Ireland and help the Irish people. The Irish did not like Patrick at first. Still, Patrick knew about Irish traditions. He used these traditions to help the Irish understand Christianity. One legend says Patrick used a shamrock. Shamrocks have 3 leaves. Patrick used the shamrock to show how the Christian God is similar to ancient Irish gods. Both are split into 3 people. Patrick's mission. Christianity already existed in Ireland when Patrick arrived. However, he made Christianity even more popular. One legend describes how Patrick arrived in Ireland. Many Irish followed the pagan religion then. They were having a pagan festival with a bonfire. The king said nobody else could make a bonfire. Patrick and his followers made their own bonfire anyway. Soldiers tried to put out the fire, but they could not. The king allowed Patrick to continue his mission. Some Irish leaders even became Christians. Patrick did not force the Irish to be Christian. He showed how similar Irish and Christian values were. Patrick spread Christian beliefs by respecting Irish people and culture. Later life and legacy. Patrick founded Christian communities all over Ireland. He also made schools and universities. No other missionary made a difference like Patrick. St. Patrick changed Ireland and the world. So, after reading that article, I have a lot of thoughts. And just like we practiced last week, those 3 steps, read, think, and cite, my initial thoughts are, well, this article seems to be all about St. Patrick, the person, and the Catholic view of him. Specifically, why the holiday was founded. And if I had to guess, I would imagine that this archive, this encyclopedia, was written by some church leaders. One example that makes me think of this is when the article says no other missionary made a difference like Patrick. But there was no information on celebrations, on Ireland, on geography, or on anything else around it. It seemed to just be about Patrick and his life as a missionary. So now to compare, right? If we think back to the article from last week, they're similar. Well, they're similar, so we're going to use that first word on our compare, just like. So the first article is just like the second article because they both talk about St. Patrick, the person, and his life. However, now we're going to see how they're a little bit different using our contrasting words. However, the second article is much more about the person than the holiday. So let's wrap our minds around that one more time to compare how they're similar. You may have used a Venn diagram before, and we're gonna picture in our heads the 2 articles next to each other and think about how they're similar. Well, they're both about St. Patrick. They both talk about his life, about his journey. They both mentioned the trip between Britain and Ireland. Now let's think about how they're different. Well, one talks about celebrations and culture, while another talks more about the religious context. So we can compare and contrast using so many different words, but today, remember, we're focusing on those 5 in the word bank that we talked about at the beginning. So the 2 articles are just like each other, or similarly, they talk about St. Patrick and his life. They both are good to teach, good to use to teach people about St. Patrick and St. Patrick's Day. However, one is more about the person, another is more about the holiday. So now I want you to think, how are these similar? If you were to teach a St. Patrick's Day lesson, now that we know that they're similar and different, which one would you use? Why would you choose that one? So now that you've thought of which article you would want to use, the one about St. Patrick the person or the one about St. Patrick's Day, the holiday, remember, once you've thought and formulated your thoughts, it's important to give credit where credit is due. So if we choose the first one, we can say, I would choose the first article. That's about St. Patrick's Day, the celebration, because I remember reading about food, culture, and different customs like shamrocks and wearing green. Now, if you chose the other one, I would choose the second article because I remember hearing about St. Patrick's life and journey. So whichever one you choose is fine. What we're practicing today is thinking, citing, and then comparing and contrasting and choosing the best one, which is sometimes both. So thank you so much for joining me today on St. Patrick's Day, and I hope that you tune in next week as we'll begin to talk about narrative texts, which are a personal favorite of mine. But again, my name is Samuel Morris. This has been Elementary English. Thank you and happy St. Patty's Day.